After putting together a perfect February. Let's go to Madison Square Garden now.
It's my favorite Spurs uniforms.
Oh my God! You was cold, sugar. Oh, bless you. Oh my goodness.
You are tall, sugar. That was the welcome that Wemby got in Madison Square Garden, and this is the welcome he gave back. An exclamation mark. Wemby imposing his will early there with the slam. And then a minute left in the first quarter here. Jalen Brunson, look at him. He baits Dylan Harper into jumping. He can't jump. He gets the shot to go plus the foul. Brunson putting in work on the rookie. And then the next Knicks possession, Brunson pulls, bottoms on the three. The Brunson burner officially firing. Early in the second quarter here, Harrison Barnes tries to pass it to De'Aaron Fox. Mikal Bridges, he was excellent in this game. Goes coast to coast for the layup, getting active on the defensive end. And then 2 minutes left in the third quarter here. Watch Wemby. Puts a little pump fake action on Mitchell Robinson.
How many steps, though?
Over OG, 1, 2, and a smidge. Over OG Anunoby.
No, just his steps are so long.
7 minutes left now. We go ahead to the fourth quarter here. This is when really the Knicks rather are in control. Mikal Bridges
that
goes
guy
the
again.
other way. There he goes. That
5 steals.
Under 5 minutes left in the fourth. De'Aaron Fox's pass picked off again by Mikal Bridges. Landry Shamet is the one who slams it down. Gosh, Shamet. He got that one to go. He's got me with that. Eliminate the Spurs. Here's Victor Wembanyama on the physical play.
I think they did put some physicality, but not even the most that we've seen, you know. And for some reason, we were somewhat hesitant. I think it was in general a team thing. They're a good basketball team. They got good actual basketball players, you know. They're not like the nastiest ugly team, you know. They're not an ugly team to watch, but they made our game ugly.
Well, it was a little bit, I won't say ugly. Should we just say offensive struggle for the Spurs, who scored a season-low 89 points, takes one to no one, committed a season-high 22 turnovers. This was just San Antonio's third time all season failing to score 100 points. Only OKC and Denver have done so fewer times. But, Tim, you were quick to say that they're coming off a perfect 11-0 February, right?
Yeah, listen, we're not going to sweat one loss for the Spurs after an undefeated month. And they beat the Thunder 4 times. They just beat Detroit in Detroit. They can handle physical play. They did not do it yesterday against the Knicks, so give the Knicks some credit here.
It exposed one thing, Brian, though, that you think could be just a larger thing to focus on here for San Antonio. What is that?
Yeah, I hate to keep coming back to this, but they are 20th in the league in three-point shooting. I will say a few weeks ago it was like 24th, 25th. And when they beat Detroit last week, one of the big factors in that game was their excellent three-point shooting. In this game, they were terrible. They were 9 of 35 or something like that. And, you know, when you're already having a tough offensive night, when you're relying on those threes, it's going to be an issue. They have improved. I'm just saying, when we get to the postseason, the teams that, when they set up their game plans against San Antonio, they're going to try to get them to shoot threes.
Right.
And that is going to be a trap. And either they're going to overcome that or it's going to end up being something they fall into. That's going to be one of the things we're going to be watching. They fell into that trap, settling for threes on a Sunday afternoon in Garden.
That sometimes those games happen. But credit to the Knicks, as you mentioned, Tim. They've been the #1 ranked defense over the last 6 weeks. Ramona, what stood out to you from this one?
Look, I think Karl-Anthony Towns, I mean, he's not going to win any Defensive Player of the Year awards, right? But he did a decent job on Wemby in the same way that he did against Joker when he was back in Minnesota and they played in that playoff series. I thought he contained him. He made it so that he wasn't this dominant force. And you saw him, look, he's working. He's making a tough shot right there. I thought Karl Towns' defense in this game, we can talk about Mikal Bridges, 25 points, 5 threes, 5 steals, 5 rebounds, almost worth those 5 first-round picks. But Karl Towns' defense, you got to give him credit. If you're gonna poke fun at him for his bad games, you got to give him flowers for good games.
And look, there have been times this season where the Knicks' toughness has come into question. This was a tough win. You just saw the numbers they've been putting up defensively, you know, over the, what is that? That's almost a quarter of the season. So the Knicks, I'm sure they heard the critic. And by the way, the criticism was coming from inside, too, from their own coaching staff. And that's the kind of style they're going to have to play come playoff time to be a real threat in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, for the New York Knicks, it's sort of been the season. They win a couple good ones, they lose a couple they shouldn't. They've been a little bit up and down. And so if we're going to criticize the Knicks when they don't get the job done that's in front of them, when they do against a very real team that we've talked about whether or not they're a contender in the Western Conference, this is the version of the New York Knicks that all Spike Lee, Stephen A., this is exactly what they want to be seeing. Go coast to coast. Catch you up on a lot of action from around the NBA this weekend. Some good games, too. Let's start with vroom, vroom. Yeah, the motorcade rolled through Orlando. The Pistons reached 45 wins for the first time since 07-08. They snapped a 17-season streak without 45 or more wins. Tim, do you believe? Do you have hotels booked in Detroit?
I do have hotels booked in Detroit. They are, cancelable. But listen, man, when a team goes 4 of 30 from three-point range and wins by double figures, they're a rough and tumble bunch that is a real threat.
Well, don't cancel those yet because they're looking pretty good. Cleveland, this is for you. James Harden, he scored 22 points in his return to the lineup. He had that broken thumb, and the Cavaliers, they snapped a 2-game skid with a win over the Nets. Mr. Windhorst, what's the ceiling for Cavs corner?
Well, James Harden had 12 free throws in this game, which is something that, he hasn't been getting a lot of free throws, but to me it showed that he's not afraid of contact on that hand. So that was a good sign, and he led a pretty strong second half for them. Also, shout out to Danny Wolf, the rookie for the Nets, had 23 points and 9 rebounds. His best game this season.
I don't know that you answered the question, but I do appreciate the shout out. Off to Atlanta, not for Magic City night, but for Jonathan Kuminga. Had another 20-point game. The Hawks overpowered Portland on the way to their 4th straight win. I'll go back to you, Brian. How would you describe the impact Kuminga is having in Atlanta?
Well, especially because Jalen Johnson is back, and he and Jalen Johnson both played extraordinarily well in this game. And look, he can get out on the floor. His athleticism obviously sticks out, and I'm sure he's loving every second of this, and certainly the Hawks are as well. They're on a winning streak.
Well, don't look now. The MVP, he's back for OKC, and Shea had himself a weekend. We like to call him Shea Butter. He's that smooth, and this was a smooth, seamless transition back to action on Friday. He dropped 36 points in OKC's overtime win against the Nuggets after missing 9 games with that abdominal strain. And then on Sunday, he lit up the Mavs. He had 30 points. He extended his overall streak of 20-point games to a cool 123 and could tie Wilt Chamberlain's NBA record of 126 on Saturday against the Warriors. Now, the 30 he had in OKC's win over the Mavs, you see right here where that streak puts it. In the process, the reigning MVP, he passed Wilt for the most consecutive 20-point road games in NBA history. So as OKC's fighting to stay at the top of the Western Conference, the Wolves are clawing their way back in. They were 0-3 against the Nuggets this season, but I sense change in the weather at altitude. Picking this up in the second quarter here. Edwards gets the pass, buries the 3. The Timberwolves up 45-38. And then under 5 seconds left, the Timberwolves lead. Edwards lays it in, beats the clock, going up by 8 at the half. In the third quarter, let's get some Jokic action. Hits that wide open 3. He's trying to will the Nuggets back in this one. And then a minute to go in the quarter, Nuggets down 9. There's Jokic once again, backing down Nas Reed this time. Crazy. Scored or assisted on 23 of their 32 points for the Denver Nuggets in the quarter. Jamal Murray drives, puts it on Rudy Gobert.
Yeesh.
What a slam there for Murray. Putting the former Defensive Player of the Year on a poster. The Nuggets down by 10 at this point. Yep, there it is. Picture perfect. Just over 6 minutes to play. The Timberwolves up 106-96 now when we go ahead here. Edwards pulls up. Yeah, this will ice the game right there. Ant feeling it. He finished with 21 points. The Wolves go on to win 117-108. Here's Ant with Katie George after the game.
The last 2 seasons, you guys have been to the Western Conference Finals as a 3 and a 6 seed. How important is it being a top 4 seed to you guys?
Super important, man. We don't want to be in a play-in because we want the week of work, of training and watching film and development. And we want home court advantage. I mean, I don't think we had home court advantage. We did my first time going to the Western Conference Finals versus Phoenix, but we want it again.
Well, best of luck in doing so.
Thank you.
The Wolves have won 11 of their last 15 games, right? That's tied for the 6th best record in the NBA in that span. That includes some pretty good wins. They've gotten the Thunder, they've gotten the Nuggets, and yeah, they weren't fully healthy, but you got to beat who's in front of you. So, Brian, what makes this Timberwolves team so dangerous?
Yeah, I think if you look at some of the teams that I would say are in the middle of the West, basically outside of San Antonio and Oklahoma City, all of those teams have some flaws. You look at Houston, they're not a strong offensive team. You look at Denver, they've been weak defensively. The Lakers, weak defensively. The Wolves, they are strong at both ends of the court. And that's really their case for why they can get back to the conference finals, is because they can do it at both ends. They also have a closer in Ant Edwards. And for whatever people want to say about Rudy Gobert, and they dunk on him, and he gets suspended for flagrant fouls, and he says stuff that upsets his teammates, the data is unequivocal. They are a very good defensive team when he's out there, and when he's out there, the Timberwolves are hard to deal with on that end of the court, and that is a big reason why you can believe they can make a run.
I think they've also got their spirit back. I mean, this team has been in the conference finals 2 years in a row.
Right.
And after the trade deadline, it took a little while for some guys whose names have been in trade discussions for Giannis and some of the other things they were trying to do to maybe get their feeling back and feeling loved again. But they look like they've righted the ship. And I've heard from people that give Ant Edwards a lot of credit for that, because he is a leader in that locker room as well.
Sort of bringing everybody together in that way. And that's a step that we've been talking about, wanting to see Ant continue to take and evolve. And we're seeing that now. But the bar, as you mentioned, Ramona, is they've gone to back-to-back conference finals. And so it's getting past that point. That's where Denver's trying to get back to, right? They've lost 8 of their last 12 games, and they're not healthy. And they're running out of time to get healthy, Tim. What's your level of concern there?
Yeah, I think there has to be some real concern. You saw Joker yesterday talking about, some worry might help, might get guys to lock in, might get guys to play harder, but the health is a thing. If the Nuggets can get healthy, everybody expects them to be a contender. Aaron Gordon is ramping up to return soon. Same with Peyton Watson. They are going to be especially careful with Gordon, though, because these soft tissue injuries have been a recurring issue over the last 2 seasons, especially the hamstring. We saw it in the playoffs, saw it twice. Those guys can solve a lot of problems. They don't necessarily get Joker healthy, though. That's also a concern.
Yeah, Cam Johnson's been hurt, too. He had a knee thing, they had an ankle thing. He hasn't been playing very well. So I just think they're thin right now. But if they get those guys back, I don't have that level of concern for them. Every game I see them in, they seem like they're in it.
Well, but when I was talking to David Adelman, Brian, he told me that they want to get 15 games together. That's their ideal. And right now they're sitting at 10. And by the way, they're 8-2 in those games, but they are running out of time. If you're not concerned for them as a whole, there's concern that they're not going to get there, maybe.
Yeah, and now they've got Cam Johnson potentially missing some time with the ankle, as Ramona said. And he made an admission yesterday, David Adelman, that sort of illustrates where this team is. As you can imagine, with Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, they try to play them together as much as they can because they're a killer duo on the court.
Absolutely.
They're going to have to change the rotation up a little bit and have one of them on the court basically at all times, according to Adelman, because the rest of the group is not carrying. And that is an indication of them leaning away from what they want to be. So this is a team that's fighting through it. But again, if they get their whole team together, I realize it's a big if, but they are very formidable at full health.
Yeah, it's interesting. Adelman also said that he hasn't shown the entire group until they got past the All-Star break their full record in the standings and where they stand, because he feels like he's coaching sort of a different group for this Nuggets team every night, and they have to get healthy in order for them to make it to their full potential. Since we're talking about health, we have